We are finally getting a sequel to the Warcraft movie. Whoop-de-fucking do. From the writers and directors of The Wheel of Time, Star Trek Beyond and Jurassic World. Get ready for the Lord of the Woke Rings of Diversity. Aren't you excited? Starring Galadriel looking like a male character from the cover of Call of Duty Black Ops. I want every single person to hit the like button because I want every Lord of the Rings fan to see this. Hollywood's new obsession of pissing on Tolkien's legacy is well underway. With a new official trailer and oh brother, this thing stinks. I could only imagine the horror on Tolkien's face if he could see how an American corporation desecrated his life's work. You know, you could probably hook up a battery to Tolkien's grave and it would generate enough power to light a small city by the amount of spinning he's doing. I want to make this crystal fucking clear. This isn't Lord of the Rings. It's a bad fan film fueled by a billionaire. See, Jeff Bezos has a new name starting today. And that new name is J.R.R. Tolkien. And clearly none of the billions spent went to acting lessons. All of the money, however, went to the visual effects department, and even then, it's shoddy work at best. See, this trailer looks like one of them terrible dubbed foreign films no one's ever heard of, and you just end up scrolling past it on Netflix or Amazon pretending it's not even there. You know what it looks like to me? It looks like, let's say it together everyone, Elden Ring DLC. This is what happens though when something is made with 100% money and 0% care and love. Unlike the Peter Jackson films, Amazon's creativity doesn't come from a desire to do justice to J.R.R. Tolkien's work, no, but rather twist it into what the writers want it to be. It says a lot that they waited for Christopher Tolkien to die before starting this monstrosity of a project. In the Rings of Power trailer, it says, based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Oh, really, dude? Not even my incredibly clumsy dog would believe that. This series doesn't even make sense. And yes, the Fellowship of the Ring prologue looked much better and way more epic. And that was 20 years ago. One does not simply top Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Not with 10,000 crew members, not with 20,000 crew members could you pull that off. Come on now, it's folly. I mean, by the way, why does 2 decades old CGI look better than the Rings of Power? And don't use the excuse of, well, it's a TV show budget. The budget for season 1 of the Rings of Feminism alone is $183 million, which is more than the entire Peter Jackson trilogy combined. That's the most expensive TV show ever made, with each episode having a budget of, wait for it, $58 million. To put into even more perspective, 2 episodes alone will be $22 million more than one of the trilogy movies. I mean, all that money only for it to look like a low budget Dungeons and Dragons live action movie is actually pathetically sad. How cheap it looks given the cost. This is a running theme in Hollywood. So many big budget productions these days manage to look really expensive and then cheap at the same time. Anyway, look, there was a time when Lord of the Rings was actually Lord of the Rings. And as hard as this might be to believe, there are a generation of people going into this disaster without even seeing the original trilogy. And for those folks, I have one thing to say. The legend began in 2001 and ended in 2003 with Return of the King, and you'd be wise to worship that work of art and not paying for this absolute shit show, which would make you part of the problem. And you're not part of the problem now, are ya? Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, the Tolkien estate should have rescinded all filming rights. After the Hobbit trilogy, it's Star Wars all over again. And this is going to be handled as well as Disney handled Star Wars. Because the new Star Wars trilogy, you've heard it all before, had great visuals, but the characters were unlikable, boring, and embarrassing to watch. And trust me, the Rings of Menstrual Power will be just as terrible as the new Star Wars movie, if not worse, because this is yet another example of a studio using a big name without respecting the source material to sell what is likely to be a mediocre product. out. We've already seen it happen with Star Trek, Halo, and other countless beloved IPs. Earlier in this video, I called the Rings of Power bad fan fiction. Except that I'm not even convinced that the people responsible were even fans to begin with. And it's not even just Lord of the Rings. Every show nowadays is indistinguishable from fan fiction. The creatives seem to have all been simultaneously brain damaged into incompetence. And on that bombshell, Mannix out.